a podcast about amazing people from an incredible state. Join Mike Broomhead for Amazing Arizonans, presented by Resolution Copper. Copper is essential to Arizona's economy and to America's future. Learn more at resolutioncopper.com.
Another episode of Amazing Arizonans, and I say this every time, but it still holds true. Hard to think of doing these without our next guest, Bobb Cooper, Valley Youth Theater. It's so good to meet you.
It's great to be here. It's great to meet you.
In the worlds that we probably don't run in together, but are around each other, your name is so synonymous with this valley and performance. That's 29 years is a long time, but the success you've had is incredible.
Well, it took a village to actually make this happen. So I thank you for those kind words. You know, making an impact on a child's life is so very important. And, geez, I'm going to get emotional already. Mm-hmm. It was great to have that opportunity, and a good board of directors, a very strong leader who created the whole thing, Hope Bozer, my two partners who retired at the same time, Carol Cooper, who is my wife, and our costume designer, an incredible musical director, Mark Feary. It was a great ride, and we impacted a lot of young people.
The passion, though, for the invest in young people. I've often heard Alice Cooper talk about his academy for kids, mm-hmm. and he said, you know, the isms go away and the walls come down when you put a musical instrument in the kid's hand. I coach sports, and all of that stuff goes away for a common goal of a team sport. I would imagine in the world that you're in, it's got to be the same passion, right? It doesn't matter where you come from. When you walk on that stage, it's just the character you're playing, right?
It truly is. It's a way for young people to express themselves in ways that they wouldn't have. Theater is a great way to get an education. You know, you do scripts, you learn lines, you learn about things that you never knew before. So there's a lot of research involved in that. But that like in the sports, because I was in sports as well. I played baseball. I would go like this, and the ball just went past me. I was not good at all, but I was in football. But theater really changed my life, and I had a lot of great people. You know, my drama teacher, Mr. Baird, was a great person, and I learned a lot, and had great people along the way, and I wanted to make sure that I was that kind of person for young people.
It's also got to be interesting, and I'm playing this out in my mind as we're talking about this, from the football world, where you've got the quarterback and you got the offensive line, but the team has to play cohesively, and it's not one person that wins a game. I would imagine whether you're playing the lead or a supporting role, or even behind the scenes and you're not on stage, that if the team isn't working together, if there's one person that acts as if they are the reason everyone else is there, it could ruin entire production.
Absolutely. It is a team, and it takes every single buddy on that stage and backstage and in that orchestra pit in order to make that magic happen. And they're all important parts. The guy that has the most lines is just as important as the guy that walks across the stage. It makes an impact. There's something there. It works. And I think that's what, like sports, helps young people learn about their place. No matter what your role is, you have an important job to do to your teammates, to your castmates, and to the production or the game that you're playing.
Where did the vision come from? At the very foundation, was it just about a venue and avenue for young people to express themselves? Did you have visions it would become what it's become?
Well, for me, I came into it in 5 years in. So when I came on, it was my predecessor was left, and Hope Bozer was kind of taking over the company. And she's the one who interviewed me. And what I saw was, I actually sat in an interview with Hope in probably 3 hours. And I saw a woman who was so passionate about what the arts could do, which resonated with me. And it's like, give me a chance. Let me see what I can do here to help make this happen. And I'm a firm believer in, if you do good things come back. And together, Hope and myself and the board of directors, I was one of 2 full-time staff members at the beginning, and the other was a choreographer. So I didn't see the light of day for a number of years, but every time I was able to watch a child come through that door as vulnerable as could be in an audition and potentially win that role and get into the show and watch the growth that they have and the work that they did along the way, and then the confidence level on that stage. There's nothing like that.
And to give a young person an avenue to express themselves, this is going to be a silly analogy. Feel free to laugh at it. But I used to talk about the football team because I was a football coach. Mm-hmm. But on the air, I've talked often about the band and about the performers at halftime who only get their time at halftime. But if you coach football, you watch how hard that band practices. Mm-hmm. And for those young men and women, that is their ability to express themselves and shine. And I've been around some amazing marching bands. To give a young person, whatever that avenue is for them, an outlet to express themselves is so critical in the development of a child. It's not just classroom learning, it's life skills learning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What happens if we neglect the arts? Again, I've never stepped on a stage other than public speaking events. I've never been a performer. But what happens if we neglect the arts and we don't have this available for young people? How detrimental could that be?
Oh, it's terrifying how detrimental it could be. The arts balance life for us. When you look around the room, you look around the street, you look around the buildings, you see art everywhere. It's in everything. And it's the delicate piece of life's balance that I think makes our world a better place. And with that missing, we're really shortchanging what a child's potential can be.
We talk about in the sports world, there is a huge difference between a young man that steps on a football field in his first year in contact sports versus how mature he becomes his second year with a year of experience, earning a role on the team, but also that year of growth. Mm-hmm. I would imagine in the theater world, it's got to be like you just alluded to with a child, with a young person that comes on nervous and auditions, what it must be like for them to get through a performance or through a series of performances to see the maturity when another role comes up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, being there for 29 years, I've watched kids that I would walk through the lobby in classes that were 3 and 4 years old, with their high squeaky voices like Vivian and say, "Hi, Bobb Cooper." And, she then ultimately got into show and then got in more shows. And now she's on her way to college. And just that growth, that confidence that grew along the way. And I see that in every job that we've seen. For Valley Youth Theater, the mission was to inspire young people to be the best that they can be. And we want to do everything we can to help build them up. Well, but sometimes their very first interaction with us can be a negative. To go to an audition, you could not get the audition.
Not the girl, yeah.
And so we set it up right from the beginning. We try to give them a little bit of confidence boosters. Don't worry about us, know that we're sending out lots of love and good energy. Anytime you audition for somebody, they want you to be what they want to see. So just have fun, enjoy it. And if you don't get cast, it doesn't mean you failed. It just meant that the match wasn't there. And I, have this goofy analogy, which I've said for years and years and years, about an elephant and a mouse. And, a mouse comes to an audition and they're casting for the role of the elephant. The mouse is great, award-winning, everything. Doesn't win the audition, but goes away and says, "Oh, that's okay. Maybe next time." They were looking for an elephant and I'm a mouse,
It's a great analogy, but I think being on the side of it that you and I have been on, and probably being on both sides of it, we can realize with that child that that's not failure, that someday you are going to see that no, possibly as the lead to your greatest success, mm-hmm. whether it's on an athletic field or it's on a stage, that no could lead to great things.
Absolutely. Yep. It's how you handle that no.
Right. And what
internally.
Right. Yeah. And what it motivates you to do next. Does it motivate you to be better next time? Does it motivate you to, even if it wasn't better or worse, but it motivate you to whatever, that never give up? That sometimes it's that determination. How many people in your world, and I'm fascinated by it because I've always dreamed about it like people have. I've never taken on a role in a cast for something. But how many great actors have been at the end of their rope and said, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe it's time to give up. And all of a sudden, The next thing you know, they get cast in something, and we see them as an overnight success. And it could be decades worth of floundering in the eyes of many that built them up to that great role.
Yeah. It's that passion that keeps them coming back, and that stick-to-itiveness and not giving up. And I've seen that for a lot of young people. You know, we have a number of young people that are on Broadway, been on Broadway. Some took 10 years, some took 15 years. There's a young woman on Broadway right now, and she's the understudy for the two leads in Death Becomes Her.
Oh, wow.
And she is incredible, and she's now getting her opportunity, and she's been swings and shows, and she's been in so many shows. And I know that her time is coming. And, every step is a step closer to that reality if you just keep believing it and you keep working in it and pursuing it.
Do you recognize the influence you have in what you just said, that for many young people to have one person that says, I know you are going to be great, and all it takes is that one person that believes in them, that gives them what they might not have otherwise had? I'm getting emotional. Yeah. Do you recognize that in yourself?
I guess now I do. And I replicated what good people that helped me get through life. I would have never finished high school if it weren't for theater. I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. Wow. So theater saved my life. And looking back in retrospect, I hope that my experience with the young people over the years impacted them in ways, and I know they have. I mean, I hear the stories. I see the thanks and the love when somebody sees me and when I see them, and I know that I was a small part of their journey, but all I really did was help them see how great they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Parallel lives. It wasn't theater that saved me, but I'm barely a high school graduate myself, and I can tell you the people that are influenced have influenced me, that gave me the confidence that I wasn't the failure in my own young mind that I thought that I was, that there was potential that someone else saw in me. When because of course we're going to talk about some of the names like Emma Stone and Jordan Sparks and people you've been associated with. Those are great accomplishments to watch those young people go on to superstardom. But how important is it for you, for the ones that didn't necessarily, they aren't household names, but you know that they've achieved things they never would have had it not been for Value Theater?
Oh, it's as important, if not more, than those big name folks. Those big name folks help bring attention to Value Theater. But, Tyler Service is a police officer in Chandler. He puts his life on the line for us each and every day. He's a VYT kid. Heather Bottom is a rocket scientist with NASA.
Oh, wow.
We have doctors, attorneys, journalists, teachers, special ed teachers, you name it, as well as the Broadway performers and singers and backstage. And to know that we had a small part in their journey is incredible. And we say it all the time. The magic that is Value Theater is a place where they can go and they can dare to be themselves. They can dream. And they know that they've got folks that are going to sit there and push them along the way and help them to be. And sometimes, when we're a young person, and I know this was my struggle when I was a kid because of all the negative stuff that was happening around me, it was those voices of positivity. I wasn't talking to myself positively, but when somebody else said something to me and it was related to what I was doing, it gave me so much more passion to keep going, to pick myself up, to brush myself off, and to keep on going and start all over again if I had to.
It's amazing how, as we talk, where people may think we come from such different worlds that maybe we wouldn't have similarities. But I remember when a coach or when someone would say something positive to me, I almost had to look as if they weren't talking to me. And that whereas I never saw a positive thing about myself, but when someone I admired did, it gave me the motivation until I had my own self-motivation. For you to recognize that and invest that in young people, to now where if you are a VYT kid, as you call them, that it is such an accomplishment to call yourself an alumni of that organization. it has really become an accomplishment, not just locally, but everywhere in the country. That's become a very big accomplishment. You have to be proud of that.
I'm very proud of that. Yes. And thankful for the wonderful folks that helped us along the way to get to that place. And these young people help each other too. When they walk through the doors at VYT, they come in, Mercedes and BMWs, the light rail, a bus. They walk, they ride a bike, they get there somehow. But when they walk through those doors, none of that matters. It's all about working together as a team. It's all about learning from each other and supporting each other and encouraging each other and including each other. And the end result has always been the shows that VYT put on are as professional as any professional company in the country. And, Valley Theater is recognized by TCG, which is a theater communication group for professional, not-for-profit theaters in the country, even though technically we're not a professional theater because we don't pay our actors. But it's that place, it really is. And when they have all that encouragement around them and they encourage each other, the product is amazing.
The self-confidence that comes from the accomplishment, but also the sense of teamwork, as you just mentioned. It's one of the things I've advocated for with getting your kids involved in some kind of a team function, because the life skills learned. Imagine a group of young people having to work together in a production. I'm saying that to them because you know this, but personalities that don't necessarily come together, people that don't necessarily hang out outside of the theater, but realizing that the show must go on and you have to work together. That life skill, whether you ever become a professional or perform again later on in life, the life skills learned about teamwork make you a better employee. They make you a better spouse. They make you a better citizen because you've learned that it's not always about you, that there are times where the mission is bigger than the person. That what a valuable skill, no matter how you learn it, right?
Absolutely. That's huge. When you learn that you're not the only person here, that others are going to depend on you and that you play a part in that, it's an equal footing. At VYT, we call it size-appropriate casting, where we would never cast a little 8-year-old as an adult character unless they were 6'4" and could really pull it off. But so the younger children are playing like the younger children characters, and the teenagers are playing the adult characters that we are doing something that's not like a fantasy. So they also learn about age gaps and that, we'll have a 17-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we encourage them to communicate with each other and be respectful primarily of your language, your dialogue, your positivity, and all that sort of thing. And they learn to work together all the way up the age range.
And I would imagine, whereas in the sports world, and I hate to keep trying to make comparisons, but I'm trying to draw parallels, even if they're not comparisons. Whereas we can say to a football player, I don't care what your attitude is, get it done. Attitude has to play a big role when they're in a cast of a production. And if they have a poor attitude, they would have a much more difficult time hiding that. Am I right or wrong? That they have to have an attitude adjustment as well as a behavior adjustment.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. It would be very difficult to hide.
That's got to be tough to get a kid.
It's a tight relationship when you have a group. There's a lot of trust in there. So there's not a lot of space for attitudes. And I've seen them along the way in the professional world and folks that are, but it never seems to play out. You never hear the good stories of somebody with a bad attitude. Right.
No.
Oh, the bad attitude. He had such a bad attitude. He's really... No.
But it feels great when you're in the middle of it. When you're in the middle of the bad day, nothing feels better than that bad attitude. You're not letting go of that bad attitude. But I would imagine in that production, and I'm sorry to bounce around so much, but I'd like to go back, if you don't mind, to some of the names that we recognize, Emma Stone, but Jordan Sparks. I remember Jordan, and I didn't know her, but coincidentally, I used to announce the bull riding and ride at Mr. Lucky's, and she would perform on Friday nights. She was one of the regulars that sang there.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see her. And then we have I don't know her, but we have people that we know in common. To watch, whether it's her or anybody else, grow up and whatever profession they're in, you talked about rocket scientists and police officers, to watch a young person with potential grow into their potential. What is that like?
It's quite extraordinary. It really is. To see a young person's journey to whatever it is that they choose to do in life and know that they're fully committed to it and they work hard at it and they show up and they constantly show up. And to see them reap the rewards of that work is incredible. You know, in the early days when I would, you know, they say talk the talk and walk the walk. Well, I had to sell value theater. I had to sell a concept, which without a lot of basis around, you know, there weren't a lot of alum at that point in time. But to watch over time, having more of those stories, to be actually able to tangibly talk about somebody whose path was impacted by the work that we do and the sponsors, their support that they give us, that help make that magic. It's incredible.
There's ignorance in this question because I don't know the answer. Do you bring alumni back to speak to the young people that are in the theater now and have them talk about how much it impacted their growth and their life path?
We have over time. We haven't in a while, but we have over time brought them back. Like when they would come through on a tour, they would stop into the theater and talk to the young people, and they would back up a lot of things that, you know, that they learned. Like one of the things is talking. Talking's not allowed on stage or in rehearsal, but they still talk because they're young people. It's one of the things that first time I saw Emily after a while at one of her birthdays, when just before Superbad was released, she beelined it for me to apologize for talking. But they'll come back and they'll talk about, well, you're in your rehearsal, you have to listen, you have to be respectful, you know, and they encourage them to follow your dreams, to keep on going. But we also at Value Theater have brought in other influential people. We've done shows like 13, and we brought in Jason Robert Brown and Robert Horn, who was the composer and the writer of the show. We brought in other composers, Ned Ginsberg, and for different shows that we've done, giving the young people the opportunity to see somebody else in that field that they want to go in, and hopefully some way encourage them as well.
Do you have past people that have been part of the theater? Do they still reach out to you? Do they keep in touch?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You got to love that.
I do.
Social media is great for that for me, living so far away from where I grew up. The young men that I grew up in Florida. Okay. The young men that I coached, I still have 4 or 5 that reach out to me and still call me coach. And it is the biggest compliment. I haven't coached in 30 years, but to have somebody remember me, first person to teach me football, I can only imagine for you, or I think I can imagine for you, to have an adult come to you and say, thank you for what you did for me, or you may not even understood how impactful this was for me. It's got to be.
You have no idea. I could pull my phone out and I could show you text messages, recent text messages. Last week, Cooper Hallstrom, who's now 30-something, he sent me a text message. He was singing in New York in a cabaret, and he was singing songs from Aida. And he just reached out for the hell of it to say, I just wanted to reach out, say thank you. It's because of you that I learned to love this musical. And I just wanted to say, and it's literally here. So yeah, they do. They will reach out and at the most random of times. And you know, it always seems to be right at the right moment when you need it the most.
When you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another life lesson there is, I would say to you, and many that know the work you've done, at least even superficially like I do, we would want to say to you, thank you for investing in these young people's lives over 29 years. Would you agree that what you got in return was so much more than you invested?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Isn't that the best part of genuine giving? Oh,
absolutely. To want nothing in return but gain so much, you know, without expectation. You know, I worked long and hard. I didn't know what an 8-hour day was. I worked 7 days a week for years and years and years. But I didn't begrudge any of it because every time I was able to be in the room with them, to see them just drink in all of the work that we were doing together, to learn, to thrive, to grow, to learn from their mistakes, to learn from each other, to go, and then watch them grow up and become great human beings. It's so rewarding.
Can you walk me through what it's like to start with a script and a cast from the first day of rehearsal to when the curtain comes down on opening night, what those emotions are like and what it's like when that curtain comes down? For someone that's not a theater person, is there a way you can put it into words? Because just so you know my experience with theater, we used to go to the Herberger every year to watch A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. The older I get, I'm a crier. And it's weird how a performance, going to the Phoenix Symphony, listen to Pavarotti, or going to the theater can invoke so much emotion. So from being in the stands watching the finished product is such an emotional experience. Can you walk me through the emotions of the beginning to what I get to see?
Sure.
What that's like for you?
Sure. It starts actually, we never precast anything. And so inspiration happens from the audition. We have a script. We know what the characters are, but who's coming in the door? Who could potentially play those characters? And then you see them. And then you go through that audition process. Then they get the role. Then you're in rehearsal and they're vulnerable. They're taking risks. They're learning. And they're learning to encourage each other while they're doing it. And so they're nervous. There's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of challenges, new things, learning the choreography, learning the blocking, learning the lines. And then the more they work, the harder they work, the closer it gets to that production. Opening night, excitement of opening night. We have kind of a pre-opening because we have a group called Hope Kids, which are chronically and terminally ill children and their family. Every final dress rehearsal, we do a show for them. So our cast gets to perform for young people before an audience. And that excitement is incredible for them. They're thrilled from all the work that they've put in. And by the time we get into Tech Week, we start, we'll have generally Friday off. Then we Saturday from 10 a.m. till midnight. Sunday from 10 a.m. till probably 10 p.m., almost midnight. And then all week long, 4 o'clock until midnight. So by the time opening night comes in, their adrenaline is rolling so high. They are so excited about what they are able to do. And they go out there and they knock the socks off of the audience. So when the curtain comes down, they're taking their bows. They're drinking all that in. Now then, the more they do it, the more excited they get, the more comfortable they're in it. The different reactions, they see how the audience responds in different ways, especially if it's an emotional type of show. To be able to move an audience is powerful.
Yeah.
And then when you get to closing show, and you could probably ask any kid that's ever been on the VYT stage, it's met with great emotion because you've been on a high for so long doing something so impactful, and now it's coming to a close. And there's so much emotion that's in there. And now they have to keep themselves in check because they can't lose it. They have to still do that great show, but just wrapped with passion. It's really the word.
I was going to ask you if it ever became mundane, but after watching that answer, I know the answer is no, because I can see the emotion.
Yeah.
That it never, the envy of that, of having something that time after time, performance after performance, year after year, to be able to still have that kind of emotion about it is enviable, that you love it that much. So I don't want to get to the end before we get to the end, but I've got to ask you now, what made you walk away? And not walk away, retire from the position. Sure, you didn't walk away.
Sure. No. The last couple of years have been tough. I lost a lot of important people in my life, my wife and I. her best friend, my best friend, many very close friends. And I knew it was time for me to slow down a little bit because all those friends are a little younger than me and maybe a little older than me. And I knew I needed to, I had spent so much of my life taking care of others. It was time for me to take care of me. Mm. And as hard as it is and was to step away, I know that there's an incredible leader handling the business of Value Theater, Leanne Dolan. And I'm very proud of her, and I know it's in good hands. We've got great board of directors, and I knew I needed to take some time to take care of me. And very difficult.
How has it been?
One of the hardest things I've ever had to do, or I've ever done. And I didn't have to do it, but it was time. And my heart's still there.
I can see it.
You know, I kind of help from the side, you know, silently. It's truly a magical place. And I'm so fortunate to have had that time. And, but yeah, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
But we don't know each other, but I do my homework. And I'm sorry that I hope I'm not taking you down a road you weren't prepared to.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've asked people, and I've talked with people that know you and know what you've accomplished.
Sorry.
That magic probably doesn't happen. It's certainly not in the way that it did had it not been for the work of you and your wife. That the passion you're still showing now, that is absolutely organic. That is not something that is developed. The skills can be developed, but not the passion. So your contribution to the lives of young people, not just up until the day that you stepped aside, but for generations to come, because you've set a standard. You do believe that, right? How important is that? Do you enjoy going now?
Yes. It is a standard, and I have to say, and you brought my wife into it, Carol, and Mark Fury. The thing that all along the way, we all three led by example, and we all knew that we had to go the extra distance in order to be the inspirers for these young people. I think I went off course on the question,
no.
But that passion is there for all three of us. It took a lot, but we were all in sync the entire time. And, Mark Fury would, back in the early days in the basement of Tower Plaza Mall, I mean, I can't even tell you what I was paying him. It was peanuts. But who would be there on Friday night before we go into tech the next day till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with me building the set and making sure it was finished? It was Mark Fury. Same with Carol. She's up in the costume shops doing everything she could to make sure that those young people on stage were proud of what they looked like, that they felt good in their costume, and to be inspiring and to inspire young people along the way. So
I don't think people understand what that kind of leadership takes. I'm drawing analogies that I never imagined I would draw, and I apologize again. People that show up at a football game on a Friday night for a high school football game, they see the coaches and they see the team. What they don't see is who painted the lines on the football field, who cut the grass, who's fertilizing the grass in the off season, who's fixing the sprinklers. If you think that those people are being hired, they aren't. Who's building the set? Who's sewing the costumes? So people can envision you as a figurehead of an organization. I don't think anyone, until you describe it like that, understand from the bottom up, everything that happens had to be done by someone, and most of the time, it was you.
Yeah.
And a labor of love. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have it any other way.
Nope, absolutely not. But it was also fun to, when you say about building the sets or making the costumes, who was doing that? The parents, the volunteers. Mm-hmm. And as leaders, this is something that I think is so important. You have to be a good leader. You have to be a kind leader. You have to be a just leader and give examples. So when we would load in these big Broadway show sets, I mean, we had Titanic. That was a $250,000 set built by NBC in California. Wow. We bought it for $1. It's a long story.
Wow.
Anyway, loading that set in off of 5 semi-trucks took parents to put that all together. And they're volunteering their time and they're learning as they go, and they're just in awe of all that work that they get to do. And then on opening night, they're sitting in the audience saying, I put that together. I did this, and that's my kid. You know, it's incredible. And it takes inspiring people. And Carol was one of those, and Mark was one of those. The orchestras, that was one of the first things we did was put a youth orchestra together. And then, we had some adults along the way. Well, we had several adults that performed with us for the last 29 years.
Wow.
They still play, and they're professionals in business, but yet they come and they play because of the inspiring place at Valley Youth Theaters and the inspiring leaders that we have. I
say it's got to be infectious that when if that's the world you love, to walk into a place that treats it with such respect and love, it's got to be infectious, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
See, I'm not a musician. I can't sing. I've never been a performer, but I love it. And I've only been as a casual observer of it. But I could imagine from your point of view, you know it when you see it, that when you walk backstage somewhere or you walk into a production, you can see probably very quickly who's there for a job and who's there because they love it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
When you look for that in someone, do you still encourage people? Do you still see people and say, you should get him or her involved? They should be. Do you still suggest that to families, or is it just if a family decides it's right for them, they need to try?
Oh, for Valley Youth Theater?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you look for?
For
talent.
Talent-wise?
Even if they don't have the skill, you don't even know they have the skill yet, but what do you look for in a person that says?
Is their commitment to making what they want to have happen. In the last few years, I've helped a number of young people. I've kind of used my little bit of cachet of the people I've worked with, and I've reached out to agents in Hollywood and New York, and I've helped several young people free of charge. This is not a solicitation for more free work, but anyway, just because I love it. I love, and what did I see in them? I saw in them, they had something special, and they had a commitment to doing the work in order to make it happen. And we did that journey together. And so far, I've gotten 4 young people agents. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's to that question. It's that passion for what they really want at such a young age, and willing to do the work to make it happen.
And the respect people have for you in the industry, because they get calls, their phone rings 20 times a day. How many of those calls do they answer?
Right.
And for them to take your call, number one, is an accomplishment. Not that they're being rude, but just that they get 20 calls a day.
Yeah.
They could field those calls all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, that if you have a recommendation, they'll at least listen based on your recommendation. Mm-hmm. That says a lot about your reputation, don't you think?
It's quite an honor.
See, I'm taking great joy in making you uncomfortable by talking about yourself, because people have told me, but that's an accomplishment. You've earned the respect of people in the industry, and to use the respect you've earned to help other people along the way says a little bit more about who you are.
Again, everything that I've done to inspire young people is something that I learned along the way. And, it was during the pandemic. I wrote emails and sent them out, and I took a risk. I was like, well, but that's what I teach young people. You got to risk to win. You got to take a chance. What's the worst thing they can say? No. Yeah. And it certainly helps my self-esteem. I sent out a letter, and they're like, yes, absolutely. And the best thing for me was, gosh, I wish I had that person who could have done that for me.
Yeah.
I had to do it the hard way. I had to find my own agent, and I had to, but I got lucky along the way. I mean, I'm a card-carrying member of the Screen Actors Guild since 1985. I've been paying my dues the whole time, but I haven't had a paid gig since 96. But I feel like there's an energy there, and that if I can help open a door for a young person, it's quite incredible.
Do you have a favorite or favorites production play? Are there favorites of yours or?
It's funny because Mark Carroll and I were just talking about this the other day, and it's like, there's probably some that are in the top 5, and then they say, is there a favorite child or a favorite actor? And I said, well, there's probably favorite eras.
Yeah.
Like the Emily Stone era was a really great era. Prior to that, with the Lucas Coatney and the Katie Rex Casey, that era was a really great. And all of them have been wonderful. But show-wise, probably, and we talked about our West Side Story that we did in 2000, that Nick Cartel, who's currently done over 1,500 performances as Jean Valjean around the world, he was our Tony. Natalie, who I mentioned earlier, Natalie Charlie Alice was in that production as well. So that's a top one. Aida, another incredible one. Titanic, The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz. We did The Wizard of Oz in, we've done it several times, but I think it was 2004. We had the Broadway set that Eartha Kitt and Mickey Rooney performed in Madison Square Garden. This set was incredible. I mean, literally, the house flying across. I mean, the witch would go this way on a bicycle and then go flying across as the witch a moment later. And, just those are, and I have to say probably one of the most impactful shows that I think that I remember was Titanic. And people were like, why would you do Titanic? And I said, well, because first off, it's a beautiful musical. And it's history. And for the first time, we always encouraged our young people to always get together in no cliques. We separated them in groups. So if you were a first-class passenger, while you're in rehearsal, you were not allowed to talk to a second-class passenger. Second class could not talk to the first class. Third class and second class, we separated them to help them understand how disparaging it was to have a class system at that time and the real impact of those who didn't make it.
Right.
And then we have this set that we bought for $1 that was incredible. The audience applauded the set every time this new set came. It was insane. And to be able to do something so dangerous, the set was huge. I mean, that was 23 stories, 23 feet in the air. It was a smokestack or the crow's nest when he says, iceberg right ahead. Every single day when we were in the theater at the Herberger, somebody would come up to me and say, thank you. Thank you for this experience. Now, I've done hundreds of shows, and I've always had thank yous, but not as many as impactful as I think that production was. And that's something I will never forget, that
it's incredible.
We were able to tell a story and have a great impact and give these young people an opportunity, and they were so thankful for it.
So let me finish with a question that's very common, and that is, what's next? You don't strike me as a person that just decides I'm done. Is there a next?
Yeah, there's a next. I was just talking about this the other day. I've decided that because I worked for so long, and I started when I was really young, I had to support myself at a very young age. So I was like, I'm done working. I just want to take a break. Today is Saturday. Yesterday was Saturday. Tomorrow's going to be Saturday. Every day is Saturday.
That's great.
So I'm enjoying the Saturdays, but I'm still doing some things along the way. And like I said, I'm helping coach some young people, acting wise, and I'm helping a couple of friends develop musicals. Ultimately, I want to write a book about my life.
Oh, that would be amazing.
There's a lot of stories there. So just living life, enjoying life as best I can, and still wanting to make sure that I have an impact somehow in whatever way I can.
You've had an amazing impact on me today. I had no idea what to expect other than I'd heard great things about you from people that know you. It truly is an honor to meet you. And what a story. What an amazing life and impact you've had here in this valley and how far it's reached around this country. For you to come here and spend this time to tell this story to this audience means the world to me. So thank you so much. It has been such a great conversation.
I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity.
Oh,
I really appreciate you, and I appreciate what you do and giving a voice to those out there. That
my gosh. It's I've had such a great experience.
Yeah, me too. I could talk with you forever.
So Amazing Arizonans, it's what we tell these great stories of people from right here in our community. And if you've not known Valley Youth Theater, you know a little bit more about it. It continues. Young voices are going to be heard and stars are going to be created and adults are going to be formed. And it all started with people. And this is one of the founders. And thank you so much for watching this. I hope you'll watch more episodes.
Thanks for watching Amazing Arizonans, presented by Resolution Copper. Tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.